That's good. Let's try this again. So I found another really good question. It's a what would you do question. So what would you do? My fiance came in our relationship with about $10,000 in credit card debt. He's working hard and cutting back to pay it all off. I told him I won't marry him until it's taken care of. One of his problems currently is the interest is keeping him stuck. So I have the capability to help him dig out of his hole, but I don't want to bail him out of his self-created problem, as I'm concerned he won't learn his lesson. I love this guy, of course, and I want us to get on with our life. I'm not trying to be mean and unhelpful to him, just trying to make sure he fully realizes the importance of being financially responsible. Thank you. Wow. This is weird. Really weird. It's a really weird question. First off, sorry, I just have to it's a weird fucking question. Again, I feel like most financial problems that arise truly come from psychological patterns, habits, issues, just kind of personal problems. And I'm seeing a very big problem already in your relationship. Alright. If this is how you felt, why even let yourself get to the point of falling in love with this person? Just follow. To engage with this person, to date this person, to be bothered with this person. Why even have the relationship if $10,000 was going to stop you from getting married? I see the idea you want to come into a relationship and you want a victory walking through the threshold. I totally get that. But if you're going to be married, that means that his debt is your debt. The two of you are together on that. So you inherit, yes, his emotional and financial baggage, but he and his kids are also going to take on this very weird, I can help my family, but I refuse to, for my family to learn its lesson type of ideology, which is going to make you really regret having a relationship. You know, love has to be something that is giving. I mean, as long as this person isn't abusive, isn't taking advantage of you, absolutely. But love has to be giving and nurturing by nature. So if you can solve this man's problems, why is it you as a woman who wants to marry him, why aren't you doing that? It's $10,000. So if it's something that he really wanted to pay off, okay, I'll give you more empathy. It's only $10,000. So that's something that literally by the end of the year he can pay off. And if you're his woman, you're his wife, and you know he has it in him to do it, and he's refusing to, I totally understand and I totally see why. Not necessarily why you would want to move on or want to cheat on him, but why you really want him to understand how important finances are. I've gone through this. I wanted to start a business. The business was not popping. I have debt. We were getting evicted. And me wanting so badly to have a business, and the pride and immaturity and the selfishness that I developed trying to maintain this illusion of business ownership was honestly destroying myself first and foremost. And then it was destroying my relationship on top of it. Instead of being able to balance one and balance the other, to be able to pay our bills, be able to take care of things, or even set something up where I can work a job that I fucking hate to cover all our expenses, and she can work a job that she loves, that we can save, budget, and invest off of her paycheck while my paycheck will cover all the necessities. Being a partner, being a decent human being, and I did not do that. So I will give you more empathy in that sense of my own wisdom, my own personal experience, but I would still often ask my partner constantly, why are you even here then? Because at the end of the day, I'm going to continue to keep trying to make businesses. I can get a job, but I would still continue to try to build businesses and still try to pass products and sell services to people, because it's just me. That's just who I am. That's just what I enjoy doing. And until I perfect that and fully understand how to do that, I'm not going to stop it, because I know that I'm capable of doing it. So I could be in a relationship, do something that I hate, and be in utter resentment of my partner while my business struggles, which is what was happening. Or I can be a fucking adult. I could admit that I have flaws and she has flaws, and we can meet each other halfway. You know, I wouldn't recommend giving him. I mean, if you two are already living together, then what you're doing makes no sense, because you're already married. You're already doing the process of marriage. It really depends how far along into whatever backwards traditions that you personally kind of have. And that's really where it seems to be with that, is that your personal tradition and however you were raised is interfering with you becoming a woman. It's interfering with you having a family. It's interfering with you having a husband. And it's interfering with your financial health as well. Because it's only $10,000. And if you can save this guy now, if he's a playboy and he's been with this one and that one and he's using women, he's a huge womanizer, definitely don't give him the money. I understand that. But if you already know that you found the man that you want to marry, this is really how you start to build that 50-year, 70-year long relationship. It's an investment for you. I would give him the money. I'll give you a few different scenarios. The first scenario I'll give you is that you give him the money. So you give him the money, you help pay up his debts, $10,000, and you two agree to pay this off by year's end, And then by the end of the year, you guys have a debt-free party, whatever. You get married, you enjoy your life, because now you can afford to go where you want to, have the wedding that you want, hopefully. That's still going to be all its other issues as well. But I would definitely have a contract, just like people sign a prenup. I would sign a promissory note, a contract, paperwork, something between the two of you that you agreed to pay this off, and if he does not pay his half, or if he does not remain faithful or something like that, there's consequences, whatever consequences you two see fit for that circumstance. Because the whole idea of a man being a provider is good. It's definitely a mainstay, but we're limited in the ways that we provide, and those ways don't always include wisdom. It doesn't always include discipline. It doesn't always include making meals. It doesn't always include taking care of the kids, maintaining the home, providing support, providing joy, providing entertainment. We provide in a lot of different ways. And depending on the type of woman, what you need for provision is different than what other women need for provision, quite honestly. So you were given a guy who may not be as financially responsible as you, which means that on the finances, you're going to need to take the lead always. And this goes into the second solution, is you don't give him the money at all, but you don't not give him the money in a spiteful way or in a evil way. As you said, you don't want to be mean. You want to marry this guy. I can tell, like, you wouldn't even bother with this kind of thought process if you didn't in your heart of hearts want to get married to him. Um, but number two is like so hard. Like he needs to understand this is how he proves that you're worth it to him. You know, this is what he can do, and this is like, it's not a matter of what he says, it's not a matter of his promises. You need, as a woman, you need to see him pay off this $10,000 debt to know that he can take care of you. So, whatever means of provision that he does, whatever it is that he wants to do in his life, you need to understand that by the end of this year, you pay off this $10,000, and now I can justify being with you. Now I don't feel like a fool for dating you. Now our relationship can come to new heights and new levels because I see your intensity. I see your severity. I see that you're serious about the things that I'm serious about. Because if you're highly interested in finances and you're highly interested in not having to starve and suffer and living a life that you deserve to live, you need to strongly convey that to your partner so they can understand the short-term sacrifice, or maybe a very long-term sacrifice. Maybe you guys are talking, 20 years of working jobs that you don't entirely like in order to spend the next 50 years after that. Hopefully you guys live that long and may marry that long. So 70 whole more years of life, 20 years that you're working hard as hell, and then 50 years where you can just say fuck it and retire. Because you have other people doing the things for you, or you're working a job that you love at that point, where work is no longer difficult. It's just something that you enjoy. In 20 years, there's plenty of time to go back to college, learn other trades, learn other skills, and I would suggest looking at that kind of mindset and just kind of getting to him that kind of mindset. The other thing about this, if you can pay off $10,000 in a year, you can save $10,000 every year. So if he can do more than that, and in addition to his budget already and him cutting back already, and it might be very hard for him. Maybe the time frame that you're giving him is fucking difficult. I would definitely make it a year at least, because $10,000 a year is like him just, hey babe, go flip some fucking burgers at Burger King to pay this shit off. No judgment. Just do what you got to do for a year, and I got your back. And that can be a very good bonding experience for the two of you. The third, and I'm not like recommending this in like a weird type of way, but you might just have to like kind of let him go, like kind of let him do his own thing. Because with men, if there's something that you find really important to us, and we don't find it important whatsoever, we're going to show you that. Unfortunately. So if there's something that you really care about, you really want, stop talking about it. Stop bringing it up. Stop making it the core of your arguments and the core of your fights. Stop allowing it to have any control over you, emotionally. But mentally, no longer as a woman, no longer as a man, just as a human being, mentally approach your relationship with that kind of mindset, that he does not care about the things that I find important. Can he deal with that? He can actively live and not have a sense of remorse for the kind of strain that this puts on me. Can he live with that? And it's like, I've brought this up to you so many times, I no longer have the energy to discuss it with you. It's not that it's fine, it's not that it's okay, it's not that I'm happy with it, it's that I've asked you not to do it so many times that I can no longer even stand doing this with you. That's just kind of how things got when the eviction got closer and closer. And those are the things that really morphed me and changed me, because we were fighting all the fucking time about it, absolutely. And rightfully so. And I had so many beliefs about how unfair this thing was, and how, but it made me a lot more creative once things were getting to like the edge of it all and to the head of it all. I got a lot more creative in ways that solved the problem. At the end of the day, we lost our apartment. So I don't want you to go through the same kind of experience. But in all three solutions, you're still going to have to find a way to get through the next year, or if not longer than that, without him having his debt paid. So once again, this becomes a very deep psychological situation you've put yourself into. Because regardless, for the next year, his debt's going to be there. Whether he pays it off, does not pay it off, or takes longer to pay it off, or you help him, or you give him all the money, for the next year, that feeling is going to be there. You need to figure out a way in your life on how to deal with those things without trying to control, Because at the end of the day, the beginning of the day, you don't really have control over that. He may not have had control over that. Like, I don't know how someone gets $10,000 in consumer credit card debt. I really don't. But my base idea was that you gave some kid a $10,000 limit credit card, and he spent the fuck out of it because he didn't know what credit was. So it has nothing to do with him being financially responsible to some degree. It has everything to do with him being very young, and if he's under the age of 30, or even if he's under the age of 40, we can live to be over 100 years old. So 40, 30 is still pretty freaking young. And you're not making any real financial decisions in your life until you're over 18. So it's only about a 12-year span of understanding anything about money. Some people get more time than that. Some people start a lot earlier in life. But essentially, you really need to get over it in your own sense. Because if you love him and you care about him, you need to find a different way to deal with your relationship that has nothing to do with the traditions that you were given. Because that will be officially non-traditional for you. However, if you found other things that are redeeming about this guy's character, I'll give you like a fucking blessing. Let me just share a testimony with you and I'll let this go. I went to the park, and just me and my nephew and my son go to the park, and I got paid for mowing the lawn, so I had a little extra money. And I buy my nephew some ice cream, and I get back $16 in change. Cool. And we have a good time at the park. We eat our Italian ices, or water ice. I don't know where you're from or what you guys call it where you're at. But Italian ices. And then we go back home, and this is a very long span of time. We walked to the park, we walked back from the park. So what I'm telling you is like insane. I couldn't find like the change that I got back from the ice cream lady. I knew that I had it. I knew that she gave it to me. I knew I put it in my pocket. I knew I put it in between my wallet. I didn't put it inside my wallet though. And I didn't think my pockets were that shallow, but I could not find the $15 anywhere. And I swear to God that I had it. So couldn't find it. I felt so sad. And I was already like super exhausted that day because like we've done the most. I had to move my grandma's bed and whatnot. So I was like super tired. And then I lost $15 on top of it. And I had to pray to God to like, let me not worry about this $15. Let me hope and let me think that you use this $15 to feed somebody, use this $15 to help some kids out that didn't have any money that night, or they can do what they need to do with it, or you give the $15 to someone more fine. Like, let me just hope that you use this $15 to do ministry somewhere else, because obviously I wasn't responsible enough to take care of it. Later on that day, I'm playing with my niece and my nephew and my son. We're hanging out in the parking lot. There's a nice church that we live next to, and they have a parking lot where they ride their bikes, that stuff like that. My son runs around in it. He's learning how to walk now. And I just like I'm like in this moment. I'm still kind of bummed out about the $15. Not as much, obviously, but I'm just kind of like thinking about it, and I just feel like, how much is this moment worth to you? You know, just being here with your niece, your nephew, and your son, watching your niece push your son on a little Thomas the Tank Engine train, watching your nephew that's come such a long way. He used to be so afraid of riding his bike, and he's like a very shy kid, so it takes like an extra dose of courage for him to do a lot of things because he just needs to get out of his shell first and then actually do the thing that he needs to do in front of other people. But he's great at doing. He's just hard at getting out of his shell. And it's like, how much is this moment worth to you? And I nearly cried to think like $15 couldn't even cover what we're doing. You know, $15 doesn't even measure the joy and the happiness and the fulfillment that I have being here with my family right now and being here with the next generation of my family. I don't think I have enough money or I've ever had enough money. I don't think anyone has enough money to replace even just that one moment financially for me because it was such a beautiful moment. I nearly cried. Tell me why later in that day my son finds my $15 inside my drawer. My 1-year-old son finds my 15 bucks, tosses it on the floor like it's a toy, like it's garbage, and then considers playing about his day. You might think this $10,000 is so much for the two of you. You might think it's so crazy because you're unmarried yet, so you're dealing with adversity because you're not married. But once you do get married, once you two do put years in, once you guys get over this 10,000 mile hump, you're gonna want to get a house together. So you're gonna have like a $100,000 mortgage or even more than that. But now you know that you two can do that. But if you don't help him now and you don't work with him now, how do you expect to work with him in the future? You know, you're his wife. You know, you more than likely have other people in your ear. You quite literally posted something online for random strangers to give you perspectives on because you couldn't just love your husband. So, you know, quite honestly, your relationship probably won't work out because you can't make your own decision. You're too swayed with the world, you're too swayed with society, you're too swayed with tradition, and you're not just present with your husband, loving him and appreciating what you two are building already. You're too possessed by what you think and too possessed by what other people think to simply appreciate what it is that you have. If he's a shit guy, he's a shit guy. And then maybe you're just not appreciating the lesson because you still want to get married to a douchebag, but he's showing you that he's not financially responsible and you still want to get married to him. That's your fucking fault at the end of the day. Or he's showing you that he's an amazing fucking guy and no one's taught him this. Most people don't teach other people about finances. They just don't. I don't know why. And when they tell you to teach about finances, they either charge you a lot of money or they ramble like I'm doing. You know, because you pay for free. I'm just going to kind of cut it there, but those would be my 3 solutions. Solution number 1 is you give him the money, you help him out, but you create a contract that protects you in the case that he doesn't fucking appreciate it and he takes the money and does some other shit with it, or that he just can't take the money and do some other shit with it, or you are like committed to get married after that. I apologize for that. The second idea is that you don't give him the money, but you let him understand fully and honestly that he needs to pay this off. It's no longer a financial thing. It does meet you at the psychological level that you're currently at. It meets you at the security and comfort level that you're currently at that he needs to provide. That as your man specifically, it doesn't matter what your parents think, it doesn't matter what I think, it doesn't matter what Facebook thinks, it doesn't matter what anybody else. As your man, I need you to do this shit for me. This is your dragon. I'm a princess. This $10,000 is your dragon. If you slay this dragon, you can do it. I'll get it every day. Hey, that could be part of the first contractual agreement that you do. That's a pretty good motivator. You maybe take that up to like once a week or something like that to make it a little bit more practical. Or else your jaw might fall off. Unless he doesn't have a lot of meat, then do your thing. So that's inappropriate. The third thing is just facing the reality that no matter what you decide, you personally need to find a way to deal with this. Because it's like, it seems like you're trying so desperately in your mind to make it seem like this is why your relationship's probably just not going to work out. You're just trying to go, this is his problem, this is his problem, this is his problem, this is his problem, this is his problem. But you want to date him. You want to marry him. You probably want to start a family with him. So this is actually, you've made it your problem for it to have any psychological space in your mind, for you to care about it, for you to want advice on it, for you to want perspective on it, what you should do in it. You've made it your problem. So it no longer behooves you to identify it as this is his problem by himself. Stop talking about it. Stop catastrophizing. Stop making it bigger than it is. Stop letting it control your conversations. Stop allowing it to control your perspective on it, because you're probably going to fuck up something good with something that really doesn't fucking matter. If he has $10,000 in debt, what the fuck does that have to do with how he treats you? What does that have to do with how he loves you? What does that have to do with his commitment to his family? Honestly, nothing. Him not paying back the fucking corporations, what the hell does that really mean to his relationship with you? But if it means that much to you, then you need to find a way to deal with it. And I don't just mean to solve the problem, because there's going to be a myriad of financial problems that you solve. One day you're going to want to buy a TV, he's going to buy a lawnmower. One day you're going to want to buy a car, he's going to buy a truck. One day you're going to want to go on vacation in Bermuda, he's going to want to go to vacation to fucking Kentucky. Or some dumb shit like that. Give me some stupid fucking financial argument that's going to come down to, well, if we just had the money, or had you just paid off this, or had we had this credit card, or had we made this financial decision, then we could have did both, or we could have did this, or you always get what you, or it's going to be some not, like, if this is the kind of approach that you have as a fiance, I wouldn't marry you. I wouldn't be able to trust you. Like, you're watching me suffer, you're watching me go through hardship, you're watching me deal with this situation that's causing you all this stress, but at the end of the day, you're giving me hell, and I'm not married to you. You're giving me hell for something that you take issue with, and you have the full power to solve your issue. You're going to be a very ineffective partner, because you're going to be able to solve most of your problems by simply not having this me versus him mentality that you seem to have, or this is his issue and his business. Like, what do you do with your friends then? Like, what do you do with your family? Like, what kind of place do you get to in your mind where you're the judge, jury, and executioner over his life? Like, you're already walking into your relationship with a terrible mentality of how to be a wife. So if this was your friend or something like this, I would completely understand. But since it's someone that you want to marry and you want to make your husband, I don't feel like it's a very wise decision for him to marry you right now, because of the mindset that you're at and how you're being very, honestly, very manipulative in taking this guy. Like, a lot of people have debt. A lot of people have consumer credit card debt. Not a lot of people, most people that are in debt, I would imagine if someone can help them get out of debt, they would be thankful enough to never get in debt again, quite honestly. But it's like this kind of, I don't want to pay for someone else's school mentality, that you don't want to pay for his debt to be cleared. It's $10,000 freaking dollars. If you just worked at Burger King for a year, you would make enough to pay it off. It's just $10,000 freaking dollars. But if that's going to be the case with $10,000, how are you two going to make any real decisions about what you do in your relationship? It's like the whole thing has to be very tumultuous for both of you and very stressful for both of you. There are people that have $50,000 or $100,000 in student loan debt. There are people in way worse financial situations than you, and if he's a loser, he's a loser. But if there's something redeemable about him, then the thing that you find redeemable about him has to cost more than $10,000. Or else you don't need to be with him. Let him be with someone who's going to help him if they have the opportunity to help him. I would hate, 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 hate to be with a woman who has the power to save I'm drowning. I'm drowning. And you have a life preserver and you refuse to throw it because you want me to learn a lesson about not going out to swim so deep in the ocean. We can't talk about that after. We can't have this discussion while you're saving my life. We can't come, like, you can come up, this is the fourth option, is that you help him out and come with an action plan afterwards. Take him to Financial Peace University. Ensure that he learns more about personal finance. While you're paying off the debt together, that'll be a great thing to do as a couple. Learn more about personal finance together as a unit. Find a solution, a creative solution for you two to make an extra $10,000 this year together as a couple. But don't just sit on the sideline and you see your partner struggling and you don't want to do anything to help this person swim. You're just going to sit there and watch them drown so that they learn a lesson? That's sociopathic. That's crazy. That's really crazy. Again, this is the second time in a row that someone's asked something that has something, it's about money, but it's not about money. It's really about you. It's really about your perspective. It's really about how you deal with people and how you deal with life. So I'm very sorry if this was insulting to you, but I really hope that you reflect on your behavior and reflect on your relationship as well. Because if he's the guy for you, $10,000 shouldn't stop you from being with this guy. Likewise, if he's truly worth it, $10,000 shouldn't stop him from being with you either. So from both perspectives, from both ways, I really hope that you two figure out this situation. But you're just really gonna have to find a way, like within yourself, to cope with this. Because if it's something that you're walking into, like if you two aren't even married yet, this is kind of telling, like, and that's exactly probably why you don't want to be married for the rest of your life. This is probably what you're going to deal with. You're probably going to have to deal with someone who makes really poor financial decisions, gets them stuff, buys stuff that they don't need constantly, gets themselves stuck in a lot of financial havoc, and then you have to constantly bail them out. And I completely understand not wanting to do that. But if there's something about him and his character, there's something about what he's doing that makes that worthwhile to you, then that's just the relationship that you chose to have. I think there's a middle point for you both to reach. I don't think you two need to break up over this, but I also don't fully understand the whole letting this stop you from marriage to begin with, as if you're not gonna gain more debt, having this big wedding. So if your wedding is anything over $10,000 anyway, what was the point of even being angry with him over the $10,000? I just can't. Like, I'm not in your position. I'm not inside your mindset, so I can't understand the depths of the emotional importance of it to you for it to be this big of a deal to you. I'm pretty sure that you can scream about it and defend all you want in your mind. It's very manipulative. It's very sociopathic, because if it is only his debt, you should have no opinion on it. Be quiet. Get married anyway. Let him deal with it himself, because it's his debt. But if you're going to take this stance that dude, you can't even marry me until you clear this debt off, then you're very much assuming responsibility for his problem already, and there's no sense in you not helping him and being his wife, being his fiance, being his girlfriend, being the most important woman in his life, and you're not going to help him. That's foolishness. That's just it's not cool.